Welcome to the show, the court of public opinion from the garage. Guess what, Pete?
What?
I found a new plane to hang on the roof.
Have you got room?
Well, there are quite a few interesting old aeroplanes hanging from the roof. And the lovely thing about looking around second-hand stores and op shops and auction places, people don't want to buy, you know, those old model aeroplanes that sometimes were, well, huge, big, really big, well, wingspans like this, and you could take them out and fly them. Well, I don't think any of mine fly anymore, but yeah.
So what did you get?
Well, I haven't got it. I got a bid at auction.
Oh, okay.
But the price is $50.
Okay.
Now, with auctions, it's funny. You go into these things hoping that you're the only one in the world who wants this particular item. And it would be a wonderful world if that was the case, but sometimes you have to fight. But I don't know. But like many of the things, you know, you don't need it, but you want it. It's all strange, isn't it? Let me read you this, because this is... I'll let you know if I get it. The great tragedy of governments who are so wedded to fining us. I was telling you the other day at the dining room table last Friday about this incredible $1 billion income that the Victorian government has. The Labor Victorian government is, oh, you know, the one that looks after the people, is the fine capital of Australia. In the last 12 months they have raised, if raised is the right word.
Stolen, I think is the word.
I like the boy. Stolen $1 billion stolen from the general public, the unsuspecting, ever-giving general public of Victoria. Well, South Australia's not far behind, let me tell you. South Australian motorists copped $417 million in speeding fines. In South Australia, that's not quite so bad because that's over 5 years, but still a hell of a lot of money. More than 1 million speeding fines worth a staggering $417 million have been dished out to South Australian drivers since 2019, according to these figures. The RAA, which is the Royal Automobile Association of South Australia, showed that 202,000 speeding fines were issued in the past year alone, with mobile speed cameras responsible for detecting almost half these offences. Oh, that's money for jam, isn't it? Don't even have to employ anyone, it's automatic. Wow! Of the infringements issued, 14,000 were for speeding 20 kilometres above the limit, an offence that can leave drivers up to $900 out of pocket. Well, to a degree, you have to say that they're the architects of their own pain. The majority of fines were issued to drivers who exceeded the speed limit by only 10 kilometres an hour, while fixed speed cameras, like those at intersections and pedestrian crossings, managed to catch nearly 60,000 offending drivers. The best way to avoid paying these fines is to follow the speed limits. It's as simple as that, says the RAA's senior traffic engineer. Yeah, I know. I do understand. Anyway, I do understand, but I can't help but worry. I did promise you we'd talk about the climate crisis that we're reminded of endlessly. So let me do that. The World Meteorological Organization. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? The World Meteorological Organization. You know what it is? It's the bloody UN in another disguise, wearing another hat. Red alert, red alert, danger, danger. The climate catastrophiers have been busy, really busy. In the 174 years of recorded climate history, now that's nothing Absolutely nothing. 174 years of recorded climate history. Last year, they say, they trumpet, they warn, 2023 was the hottest year ever. Really? Really? Where? And nobody asks them. Not here. Oh yes, they talked about it, they predicted it, they turned out to be wrong. It was in fact the mildest summer I can remember. But they're not going to leave that alone, are they? No way. They predicted a hot one, and now they're telling us that it actually happened. It didn't. And not one journalist asks any of these people, so-called climate scientists, for details. Clarify, please. Please explain. Indeed, prove what you say is true. And anyway, 174 years of recorded climate history is absolutely nothing. We talked to Professor Plimer on Friday at the dining room table, jeremycordeaux.com. As a climate scientist, he looks back over 1 million years to get a real picture of climate change. And yes, it's changing. And it's meant to, and it's designed to. You know, like the sun comes up a little bit later or earlier, depending on the season every day. Change is inevitable. The UN Global Climate Report. Now, if you listen to this rubbish, and this the end is nigh stuff, panic station stuff, every climate record has been broken. Wrong. If you listen to these guys, the seas are boiling, the ice caps are melting, the hottest year in the history of the world, the oceans are rising. Really? Where? Where? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the oceans. This is an easy one to prove. Show me any evidence that the sea level is rising anywhere in the world, because if it goes up somewhere, it has to go up everywhere. You know what they say? A rising... What do they say? A rising tide floats all boats. That's true. It's an old saying. The most expensive real estate anywhere in the world is waterfront. The closer to the water, the better. The closer to the water, the more valuable the real estate. How long do you think that would be the case if these idiots were right? If this rubbish was true, there would be a flood, if you'll pardon the expression, a flood of waterfront property on the market. What planet are these people on? Not this one. What do they take us for? Like I say, as I tell you often, tell people a lie often enough and they'll start to believe it. That's what they're trying to do. The great mystery is why? Why are they trying to turn the world upside down? They are the kind of highly paid extinction extremists. You know, the people who hang off bridges and glue their hands to the pavement. They're just a slightly more sophisticated version of that rubbish. Now listen. The Extinction Rebellion people, well, we can put them in jail, but we can't do that with the UN. And believe me, the UN, the United Nations, is no friend of Australia. If you ask me, they're not a friend of the world either. Our government should have only one priority. Yes, I know we spend almost $100 million to belong to this stupid, irrelevant organisation called the United Nations, which is a waste of money. You know, you heard what the United Nations did. They came out with, the Americans came out with a plan for the Middle East, for a ceasefire and a hand the hostages back, Gaza Strip thing. And in the United Nations, who should have been behind such a motion, 100%, in the Security Council, where China and Russia have the right of veto, they vetoed it, killed it dead. What's the point of belonging to an organisation like that? But Australia, and for that matter, you know, I'm not an isolationist, but for that matter, Australia, other countries in the world, should have one concern: Australia and Australians. We can't save the world, we can't even influence the world. These people say, yes, 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 of Australia. We know your contribution to global emissions is minuscule, but you see, you sell your fossil fuels to China and India, make a lot of money, and they're big polluters. You've got to stop selling your coal and gas. Well, how dare they say that? How dare they? The United Nations, I mean. We are a sovereign nation. As you say, as you know, what I feel about the United Nations: useless, self-indulgent, overprivileged bunch of socialists. No-hopers. Send them packing. I'm not advocating, as I said, a fortress Australia. We need our allies, we need our alliances, but we need a strong focus on our well-being, financial and in every other way. There's no need to pursue alternative energy, quite frankly. Nice, but not urgent. You certainly do not need to subject people to hardship and great expense for no good purpose. And let me say it clearly here. There is, and I am repeating the words of Professor Ian Plimer from last Friday, there is no climate emergency. Full stop. And he is a man of enormous reputation and credibility. But you'll never see him on the ABC. Funny about that. Really funny. Let me remind you about the Rising Sun on Bridge Street at Kensington, one of our sponsors. Grant has owned it for years, and Jim Elder is another one of our sponsors. And they are two great establishments in South Australia with a fine history and fine products and great service. But if you're looking to lean up against a bar, as I sometimes am inclined to do, you couldn't do better than to lean up against Grant's Bar at the Rising Sun Inn on Bridge Street. Tranquil, beautiful Bridge Street on Kensington. It's just off Kensington Road. It's a heritage-listed building. It's made of handmade bricks. It's got lots of atmosphere. Wonderful for dinner, Monday through Saturday, lunch Thursday through Sunday. I've known them, and I've been going there for 35 years, something like that. Lots of different spaces for lots of different purposes. A romantic dinner for two, or you can have birthdays and weddings and cocktail parties and corporate functions as well. Let me give you a telephone number for the Rising Sun. It's 8333 0721 to make a booking. It's always wise to book. 8333 0721. I think it'll become one of your favourite places. The central bank in Japan has put up interest rates. Well, it's an interesting case, Japan. I know we had interest rates here of 1/10%. But in Japan, it actually got down to a negative rate, believe it or not. This is where, and it's been there for some time too, I might tell you, this is where you have to pay the bank to hold your cash. So it's just a fraction above that. Do you believe that?
Well, I'd stick mine under the bed if I had any.
Well, you wouldn't be paying the bank money to put your money. Well, that's what we've just been through. Funny world, isn't it? I saw another interesting figure the other day. I was talking to you about the billion-dollar fines capital of Australia being Victoria. The taxpayers of Victoria paid $588 million. This is not to get the Commonwealth Games. This was to back out of the Commonwealth Games. $588 million for absolutely nothing. Someone should go to jail over that. What an absolute disgrace. And no one, as far as I can see, is going to be made accountable. A bit nasty, but not the brightest bulb. Did you hear that, Pete?
Yes.
The funny line. A bit nasty and not the brightest bulb. Donald Trump's opinion of the Australian ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Kevin Rudd. Kevin 07 actually started it. He said some terrible things about Trump. He called him a traitor and a fool and a few other things. That was admittedly before he had the diplomatic job, but it wasn't very diplomatic of him. But Kevin, if you happen to see this at some time, just remember you started it. Yeah? And clearly it'd be very difficult for Australia to work with the United States if Trump is elected, and it looks certainly like he will be, with Kevin Rudd as our ambassador. But anyway, I think it is possible that the Liberals will win the next federal election here, and they will have the right to perhaps rejig some of these diplomatic appointments. Young thugs in Victoria will be forced to wear ankle bracelets. Another piece of news from our neighbouring state. This is part of their bail condition, apparently. But the truth of the matter is, in all honesty, they'll cut off the ankle bracelet, and they'll probably film themselves on their iPhones while they do it, and then post it on social media. They have such contempt for authority. Well, as you sow, so shall you reap, perhaps one might say. How much time have I got, Pete?
Well, it's getting up there, Jim.
Getting up there! Getting up there! What have you got on for today? A song?
I'll find something. Perhaps that Peter, Paul and Mary one.
Yeah, that was the first time ever I saw your face. You showed me that.
Yeah.
Which was, well, it was a hit for not Peter, Paul and Mary because...
Oh, well, Ewan McCall
wrote it. Yeah.
No, I think they had the biggest success, I think, with it.
No, that was a woman. Gee, I can't think
of it. Was it Roberta Flack?
Roberta Flack. That's who it was.
Okay, yes.
Roberta Flack. First time ever I saw your face. Great words. Fantastic song. Anyway, just quickly before I get to the dates. And the song, the Mona Gallery. Have you ever been to the Mona Gallery, Pete?
No.
I haven't either. The Mona Gallery in Tasmania, with their Equal Opportunity exhibition. I wonder what the hell an Equal Opportunity exhibition is. Anyway, it has nothing to do with you can walk in there without any artistic talent, or you can walk in there with great artistic talent and have to be treated the same way. Why, I would have no idea. There's nothing wrong with discrimination. My mother always told me, and it's always wise to listen to one's mother, my mother always told me, be a discriminating person. A discriminating person. You know, know right from wrong, good from bad, pretty from ugly. It's all of that's discrimination. Anyway, this particular piece of equal opportunity, this is where men cannot enter this particular part of the museum, this particular exhibition. How in God's name is that anti-discrimination? It is plainly discrimination. You are discriminating, I'm not against discrimination, but you are discriminating against men because they're men. The Mona Gallery Equal opportunity exhibition, Tasmania. Men cannot enter this particular exhibit. Yet this is the same museum where they have a wall of vaginas. Plaster of Paris vaginas. And it's art. You're rolling your eyes, Pete. You've never heard of this?
I haven't heard of that. No.
It's quite extraordinary. Yeah, art. It's like Annie Sprinkle and those other pieces of strange art that we were talking about the other day. But 1980, you remember I was saying to you, and I did promise that I'd get back to you, I think I wrongly accused somebody of saying, being invited on my radio show on 5DN, and then saying I won't talk to a man. I did get the person wrong. It was in fact Dale Spender. It was 1980. I went back, and this is the story, just very quickly. 1980, Dale Spender. Dale Spender came, as I understand it, from a very privileged background. She was the daughter of Sir Percy Spender, who was a diplomat and a senior conservative politician. She wrote a book which was called Man-Made Language, where she took men to task because she said they controlled the language, and that wasn't fair to women. Now, she agreed to come on the show. I didn't line it up. It was lined up by my producer, Anne Fulwood, at the time. And when she was on the air, she simply said, "I won't talk to you, Jeremy. I don't talk to men. I don't talk to men." This is even after she agreed to do the interview with me. Famously, she said, because it got big publicity, "I can't talk to men. I don't talk to men. Won't talk to men." So it ended up that Anne Fulwood did the interview. I thought it was funny. I thought the whole thing was just an absolute joke. But apparently she has quite considerable credibility when it comes to feminism. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really high up in that world, and I don't particularly want to be. But I can't remember who it was that I was wrongly attributing that episode to. But it was definitely Dale Spender. Now, thank you very much for being with us in the Court of Public Opinion. Before we entertain you with a little music, a few dates. If you're having a birthday, happy wedding anniversary. It's March 26. Wow. Easter week. You mentioned Peter, Paul and Mary.
Yes, I'll play that one.
Okay, well that's funny, isn't it? 1970. Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul and Mary admitted taking immoral liberties with a 14-year-old girl in Washington, and that really was the end of his career, and it was the end of Peter, Paul and Mary's great popularity. But, you know, having seen that and having just sort of thought about it, when I was doing Blind Date on Channel 10 back in the, pretty close to 1970, it would have been 1969, something like that, we had, you know, the pink zoot, and we had every pop star of the era, every single one of them on the show. They would come on and there'd either be a date and do a date and a guest spot with music as well. We had to, or Grundy's had to, because they were the packages of the program, had to hire security guards to keep the girls away from the talent. And I swear most of them were, you know, 14 or 15. They were just teeny boppers, they were kids. But you know, I've got no idea of the backstory of the Peter Yarrow thing here, but
Well, she was waiting in his change room.
waiting in his change room.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember the story?
He didn't know her age. He didn't know her age.
No.
So security let her in, and he went to jail for that.
He went to jail. Absolutely, he went to jail. You know, and I used to feel sorry for these security people who literally had to haul these young girls away from the pop stars. Anyway, anyway, I digress. Leonard Nimoy was born 1931. What a great voice. Apart from all of the things he did on the screen, he was a fantastic voiceover man. He made a fortune out of doing voiceovers. John English, we had him on Blind Date, born in 1941. Australian Constitutional Convention started in Adelaide. Now there's an interesting story. That was the Australian Constitutional Convention started in Adelaide in 1983. It was around, oh golly, the late 1800s that the Constitution, which led to the Federation and our country, in fact, the birth of our country as we know it today, the Constitution was worked out on the table upstairs on the second floor of what became Chesser Cellars Restaurant in Chesser Street in the city of Adelaide. Very, very interesting street, yet you would see no evidence as you walk down the street or you look at that beautiful old building. We haven't marked it in any way. There's no plaque. There's nothing that says this is where Australia was born. This is where our Constitution was written. Very interesting. And Dick Smith, 1969, who was on the show at my dining room table on Friday. Dick Smith got married to Philippa, or Pip, as he calls her, on this day in 1969. Ludwig van Beethoven died in Austria in 1827. Chips Rafferty was born in Broken Hill, 1909. Diana Ross was born in Detroit in 1944. John Laws was stricken with polio and paralysed along his right side, leg and arm. And it still comes back and haunts him, I believe. That was in 1962. I met him shortly after that when I was working there at 2GB as an office boy, and he was doing drive. Alfred Dunhill was born in London in 1896. Anthony Blunt, I'll leave you with this. Anthony Blunt died, 75 years of age, in his elegant 6th floor apartment near Marble Arch in London. It was 1983. Anthony Blunt, the former curator of Queen Elizabeth II's art collection. In 1979, he was exposed as being the mysterious fourth man in the Soviet spy ring with Guy Burgess, Donald MacLean, and Kim Philby. I had a look at Oppenheimer last night. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will see you tomorrow. Here's a great song, Believe in Yourself, and goodbye for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'd like to sing a song that was written by a traditional singer from Scotland. His name is Ewan MacColl, and he's married to a relative of Pete Seeger, the greatest American folk singer, I think. The song is about the first time they met and fell in love. It's called The First Time.